Welcome into Ride the Line, the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. And this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell, the NBA guy on the show, and you can't teach that. Bada boom, man, the people in the room. Grant, welcome into Ride the Line. Are you riding today?
I'm riding, Tanner. I am riding. Thank you so much for the warm introduction, as always. Tanner, this is now 2 shows in a row where we got to start by talking about the disappointment that is your Boston Celtics.
Yeah, they lost last night. Did their odds change, though? That's the question. Like, did it impact their odds? That's what I care about, Grant.
You know, that's actually a very good question. The answer is no. The answer is no. They have not changed. But that is a good question because normally game-to-game futures odds don't change. But this is now 2 games against the co-championship favorites. The team that's second, they lost both of them.
You know what that shows me, though? Last night's game shows me that their odds can't get any lower than plus 210.
Yeah, at this stage in the season, I agree, for sure.
Yeah, if you go in, you win a playoff series, obviously they're going to be, plus 110, plus 120, plus 130. But right now, showing that you just lost to Denver on the road, who you're probably going to play in the finals, you can't go lower than plus 210. I'm not taking the Celtics lower than that. So I don't think we'll see those odds drop before the end of the season, at least.
Yeah, I don't either. I didn't know we were going to get into so much futures talk so quickly, but as a Celtics fan, you concerned about Denver? Are you concerned about Milwaukee even? Like, how you feeling?
I'm not concerned about Milwaukee per se. I mean, if you get to the Eastern Conference Finals, you should win the East. Denver's been the one team I'm a little scared of. I know you were talking about the Heat the other day. If they match up with the Heat, we'll see if that comes. But slightly worried about Denver in the NBA Finals from a betting perspective, at least. If you get the Celtics to win the NBA Finals or you have them to win the NBA Finals and they get to a matchup with Denver, you're going to see Denver as the plus money side. You can easily hedge that too. So I don't look at it from a fan perspective. I look at it from more of a betting perspective. Doesn't really concern me right now, just because over those 7-game series, you can hedge so much if you want to get out of things.
A wise man. I will say it's very disappointing for the Celtics because the Denver Nuggets shot, I believe they shot 25% from 3 in the first matchup. They shot 19% from 3 last night. Boston still lost both those games. Like that's scary. Denver can play a lot better than they did play, and they still won both games.
Well, I was watching my ladder challenge, which died last night, guys. Sad night. Youngstown State does not care. They don't care. They don't care about basketball. That's what it comes down to. But I did not watch this game. So was it domination in the paint?
It was, you know what it was? The Celtics are very good at, I think probably their best quality is they're very good at capitalizing on mismatches because everyone on their team can do so much and they have so much size and everything. First of all, I mean, Denver's just a really good team, so it's hard to find a mismatch against them. And then whenever Boston would go on these little runs to try to keep things close or push the lead, Denver always had a response for them. And late in the game, it became apparent that Denver was the better team. And this is the problem with Denver. If you're going to beat Denver, you have to be ahead with about 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter because there's no team in the league that's better down the stretch at executing than they are. And, I mean, Jokic just dominated them in every way, whether it was going to work in the post, setting up plays. He had some great passes towards the end of the game. He was tremendous. And Jason Tatum didn't show up to this game. He had 15 points, 8 assists. Jaylen Brown had 41 and 14, and Jason Tatum just left him out to dry.
Well, that's what it comes down to. They got to work together. If one dominates and the other one doesn't step up. Realistically, if Jason Tatum doesn't have a big game, I don't care if Jaylen Brown drops 40. The Celtics aren't winning if Jason Tatum does not set the tone for them.
Especially when you're going against a team with Jokic, the best player in the world, and Jokic is having a great game.
Yeah, Tatum has to set the tone. But, again, if you can get to the NBA Finals, just get there. That's kind of my take right now from a betting perspective. If you do have the Celtics, if you have the Nuggets, you're going to have opportunities to get out of things and hedge. And realistically, if you have the Celtics, that's the best opportunity to hedge because they're going to be heavy favorites in pretty much every playoff series that they play. And even if they, I bet, had the Nuggets, and again, a lot can change over the course of the months leading up to it. But I bet the Celtics would be as high as minus 180, minus 200 potentially to win that series. And you'd probably get the Nuggets at like plus 150, plus 160.
And Boston's going to have home court in that one, assuming they don't just completely collapse. So they should finish with the best record in the league.
So you're probably looking at minus 200 to win the finals, at least minus 170. So Nuggets are going to be a plus money price. But anyways, Grant, we got 2 college basketball games to talk about. We got 2 NBA games. Before we do that, make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel, like, share, do it all, guys. Let's take this thing to the moon. We got March Madness coming up on Monday. We are going to talk about the, I believe, Thursday games. On Wednesday, we'll talk about the Friday games. And then on Friday, we can focus on some Saturday games. So got a lot to look forward to, Grant.
Yeah, of course. It's one of the best times of the year to be a sports fan, March Madness.
Definitely. And we have the first 4 games too. That's 2 weeks from now, obviously. Next week, we'll be looking at conference tournaments and NBA, but a lot to look forward to, guys. So make sure you subscribe and get ready to go. Grant, start out with an NBA pick.
Yeah, so actually both these picks are going to be money line picks because both of them involve games that have 1-point spreads. And I mean, why lay 1 point? Might as well just go for the money line. You're going to get it for the price that you would normally get a spread anyway. So just be smart. Go with the spread here. I'm going to take the Orlando Magic at +1, but again, money line against the New York Knicks in this one. So the Knicks have been really inconsistent lately, and a lot of that is because of the injuries they suffered. But it still doesn't change what's going on. Jalen Brunson probably should play in this game. There's always a chance that he won't because of that knee contusion that he suffered. But even if he does play, respect to Jalen Brunson, but either I think it's since the All-Star break or maybe it's over the last month. I forget which one, but Jalen Brunson is the second most blitzed player in the league. So teams are going to do what they can to get the ball out of his hands. Orlando is an exceptional defensive team. They've got a lot of length and they're hyper aggressive on the perimeter. So with the lack of ball handlers around Brunson, I think they're going to be able to create problems for this Knicks team, especially when Jalen Brunson doesn't play. You've seen a lot of their problems creating, and granted, Brunson can get his own shot when the ball's forced out of his hands. Can you trust those guys, the Josh Harts, the Dante DiVincenzo's, to always pick out the open man? Most of the time, no. They're just going to be jacking the ball up. Orlando, decent, not amazing, but still 56% against the spread as a road underdog. Weirdly, they're a lot better as a road favorite. But the point being, Orlando's playing really good basketball as of late. They're streaking into the playoffs. They've got their offense going again. Paolo Banchero has had some huge games recently. I think you look at him, look for him to deliver. I think the Magic can get this one done.
I really like Banchero. I feel like he's not overlooked, but he's not talked about as that guy as much as some of these other dudes that are on his level. Really like him a lot. I think the Magic find a way to pull off the win here. Knicks are struggling right now. Magic, 16-18 on the road. How much does that scare you coming into the spot?
You're not getting the real Knicks. The Knicks at their best were probably the second best team in the Eastern Conference, but no Mitchell Robinson, no Julius Randle, no OG Anunoby. This is a different team. So with Orlando playing the way they are, and just again stylistically, the way that they can apply pressure on the perimeter with all of their size and length they had against a New York team that's a little bit undersized right now, I feel good about it.
And even when you were getting the Knicks best too, Magic 3-0 against them, and they covered 1.5 again. It wasn't spread in every game, but they covered that in all 3 games so far against them. So I like that pick, Grant. Nice play out of you.
Thank you. And by the way, I like the Banchero praise because he's in this weird spot of he was a number 1 overall pick who in his second year in the league is an all-star for a team that might finish as a top 4 seed, and yet nobody's really talking about him. It's just weird.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I've always liked him. I mean, he's been a very good prop. That's the reason I would like him, is because he hits his props a lot. Like, you go points, rebounds with him, he usually delivers. So shout out Paul Banchero, cashing people out.
Shout out Paolo Banchero. He got dunked on by a Virginia Tech guy during the ACC tournament one time. That was like our. I mean, we actually ended up winning the ACC tournament. It was 3 years ago. It was our school's first ACC title. But that was like our big thing. Was like, oh my God, our guy just dunked on Banchero. But I mean, Banchero is going to make $200 million on his next contract, so he probably won in the long term.
He's good getting dunked on. Anyways, we'll go from the NBA, the best of the best, the worst of the worst, and that is mid-major basketball. The West Coast Conference Tournament second round. Now, you might know the West Coast Conference because of Gonzaga and, St. Mary's and these teams, right? But the heart, the lifeblood of the West Coast Conference is Pepperdine University versus San Diego Toreros University. That's the lifeblood of this conference. Pepperdine, I don't know if you were following Twitter yesterday, Grant. Did you see they won 102-43 over Pacific?
I did. And I also saw they were up 56-9 at one point, I do believe.
I think they went on like a 42-2 run to start the game. They scored over 30 points before Pacific even scored yesterday, so it was pretty bad. It was not a good game for Pacific. Now Pepperdine's not a good basketball team. They're 13-19. They're 5-11 in the West Coast Conference. They shouldn't be beating anyone. And I'll tell you what Pacific was. Pacific was 6-26. I still don't think they should be beating Pacific by that many points. They're not that good. San Diego 17-14, 7-9 in the conference. They're also not great, but they're a dog, and they got 4 more wins. So I don't know if this is a combination of, recency bias, looking at yesterday's game. But when I look at Pepperdine, they're very good statistically. They can match up well with San Diego, even though they don't have the same amount of wins. And I got a little nugget here. This is why you research mid-major basketball. Their coach, I don't know if he's getting fired. I don't know if he's leaving on his own. He's 65 years old, but he's done at the end of the season. They've already announced it. It just was announced before that game, and they came out and they dominated. So I feel like we're going to see that again. I feel like these guys want to play for him, probably a grandfather figure. Let him go out on top. Let him go out with another win before they get smacked by Gonzaga or St. Mary's in the next round. And also, too, they can keep up offensively. They're more efficient from the field than San Diego, and they just scored 102 points yesterday. They got momentum coming into this one.
Yeah, looking at Pacific might not be the best indicator because I believe San Diego did also recently blow them out. I think it was a 12-point win, which I guess isn't a blowout, but it's a comfortable win. Pepperdine did lose by 2 to this team about a month or so ago, so they're going to have that factor of wanting revenge. They allowed the starting center for San Diego to go for 20 and 12, so that's a guy that they got to slow down. But Tanner, you're the mid-major guy here. I'll always default to your expertise on this one. If you like Pepperdine, I mean, you got to stick with the hot hand. They just scored 102 points last night, so it's literally the next day. They're still going to have that touch, so why not? Why not ride with the hot hand?
Yeah, they scored 102 points. San Diego's coming off a day off, so go with the hot hand here. Again, I really think if you have a coach that you like, and it seems like they like the guy, if you're playing for him on his way out, this is probably his last stint coaching, at least in college. Like, you want to play hard for him.
Yeah, 100%. We've all got coaches like that, and you always want to set them off the right way.
Yep. All right, Grant, next NBA pick.
I'm going to take the Milwaukee Bucks on the road against the Los Angeles Lakers. Again, spread is -1 for the Bucks. I'm just going to take the money line. You're still getting -112 odds. Why not do it? So the Lakers, really good win streak, and then they lose to the Sacramento Kings. I picked the Lakers on the show. In hindsight, I still don't feel terrible about it, but the Kings have just been a bad matchup for the Lakers for years. I got to start to take that into consideration. Milwaukee got absolutely stomped by the Warriors. They lost by 25 points when they played them a couple of days ago. This is a team that's already out on the West Coast. Again, just faced Golden State, so not going to be too much travel involved there. And again, it's not the second night of a back-to-back, so that's important. Milwaukee, just this thing with professional athletes, I like betting on teams. First, the teams have to not suck. That's the qualifier. But I like betting on teams that were just blown out because all professional athletes didn't get to the top level in their sport without some sort of ego. And I don't say that in a bad way. Like, you have to believe in yourself. You have to be a little narcissistic almost. Because if somebody tells you you have 1 in a million chances of getting to the NFL or the NBA, well, I'm going to be that 1 in a million. When you go out and you lose by 25 points on a nationally televised game, it lights a fire inside of you. So I think the Bucks are going to come into this game energized. Teams and players also, there's certain teams they get up for. The Lakers are one every year because of not only LeBron, but also just because of the big stage out there in LA. Giannis was pretty quiet in his last game. I think you're going to see a better performance from him. And the Lakers, although they continue to shoot the lights out of the ball, which is really weird because they were so bad for most of the year, that defense has just been really bad. And Milwaukee's got one of the best defenses in the league since the All-Star break. Their offense also had been humming again until that Warriors game. So I think you look at Milwaukee to get back on track here.
Yeah, Bucks are starting to figure it out too. I mean, I think when Doc Rivers came in, everyone started pressing the panic button. What's the franchise doing? Doc's not fixing things. It takes time. People don't realize that. It takes time. If you're a new coach, you jump right into this. It's going to take time for you to figure out how you work with the players, how the players work with you, and how to win basketball games. They're starting to do that, obviously coming off the loss, but I think they get back on track here. Giannis is a game-time decision. But again, everyone's a game-time decision. Why do we even do that? Everyone's a game-time decision.
I will say I do need Giannis to play for this pick. Like, I'm not going to bet it until we get his status clarified. But yeah, it's really tough when you try to put out daily picks like you and I sometimes do. You on TikTok, me on YouTube and stuff like that, or on Twitter, wherever. It sucks because over half of the stars on any given day are questionable. And then of that 50%, half of them probably won't play by the night. So it's like every time you put out a pick, it's you almost have to have an implied caveat of like, oh, well, I need Donovan Mitchell to play for the Cavs. I need Kevin Durant and Devin Booker to play for the Suns. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's how it always works too. Like overnight, you can't bet the NBA overnight. It's very hard to. If you guess right, it's like you're betting twice. You're betting on who's going to play, and if you can guess right overnight, you're going to put yourself in a really good position. But if you guess wrong, you're done.
Yeah, 100%. All right, Tanner, what's the final pick of the, I was going to say the show, but of the whole week, actually?
All right, Dayton Flyers. They're hosting the Virginia Commonwealth Rams. Senior night for Dayton. Big game, big spot for them. They've been terrible on the road. They've been very bad on the road. In fact, 2 losses on the road in their past 3 road games. But overall at home, they are a legit team. They shoot very well, and that's going to make the difference in this one. Player you need to watch for Dayton against Virginia Commonwealth is Deron Holmes. He's been fantastic, legitimate NBA prospect, 20 points per game, 8 rebounds, 55% from the field. Big 6'10" forward. He thrives in the paint. He can also be on the perimeter if he has to be. But I don't think Virginia Commonwealth is going to have an answer down low for him. They're a very good defensive team. Not as good on offense. They don't have a lot of efficiency from the field. They don't have a lot of big-time scorers. Max Shulga is the one guy who can score when he has to. 15 points per game, 44% from the field. I believe he's around 40% from the three-point line as well. But overall, they don't have that score that they can go to in key moments. So if their defense is not elite, if they can't shut down Dayton on offense tonight, they're going to have problems because when the Flyers go on their run at home, which they will, we haven't seen it on the road as much, but when they go on runs at home, I don't think Virginia Commonwealth is going to have the team and the offense specifically to answer the call here. So it's 2 different styles. Dayton's the offensive team. Virginia Commonwealth's the defensive team. But when this game's at Dayton in a spot where they're a top 25 team trying to get some momentum going into the Atlantic 10 tournament, I'm going to lay the 7.5 points here.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad play. VCU comes into this one losers of 2 straight. They're pretty aggressive on defense and they're disruptive. They like to get some of their points off of points off turnovers. So they like to get steals, run in transition, all that good stuff. But like you said, Dayton is a, I don't want to say a home juggernaut, but they're certainly more comfortable in their building. And even though VCU is the better team, again, going back to our good guys over there at KenPom, VCU ranks, I believe, 53rd in defense. KenPom, my gosh, Dayton is 69th, which isn't that far off. And then Dayton's got a top 20 offense. They're ranked 18th. VCU is outside of the top 100. They're at 130. So the defenses aren't necessarily so far off, but the offensive disparity clearly leans in the favor of Dayton. They're the ones at home. Again, VCU on the losing streak. It's going to be tough. You know, there's going to be tough. It's a conference matchup, no doubt about it. But I think Dayton is the better side to be on.
Hey, how bad do you want it? You want to go a loser? You want to go a winner on your home court? I don't know what to say. I would want to be a winner. Senior night, which didn't mean anything for freaking Youngstown State last night. But it's senior night at home, rocking crowd of 5,000 people in a high school gymnasium. You're feeling good. You're ready to go. You're a top 25 team. Got to go with Dayton.
Yeah, I agree. Tanner, that's going to do it for this whole week of picks.
Yeah, big week of picks. A lot of wins, few losses. We bounce back from the losses. We keep the wins up, and we start next week. We got conference tournaments coming up in college basketball. Then the next weekend, next week will be the heavy March Madness show when we get that bracket set up. And we're going to have a ton of content online. Final question. Will there be another ladder challenge for the people? Yeah, Monday. Coming back Monday. So the guy that I do the ladder challenge with, he really is into it. Like, he likes it. I like it too. Don't get me wrong. But again, how you're perceived by the public, like, okay, we lost on day 6. Youngstown State didn't show up. Youngstown State shows up. Yeah, we could easily we lost day 7. We could easily got to day 8. Now, with that being said, I was telling Grant this before the show. We had like 6 double-digit comebacks in the second half. Texas the other night, whoever they were playing, I forget, didn't score for like 8 minutes in the second half. Who was it against Texas? It wasn't Kansas. Who was it? Was it Baylor? It was Baylor. Baylor was down 15 points, and then Texas didn't score for 8 minutes. Everything went our way so perfectly. And if they didn't, we would have lost on day 3, day 4. And then you're looked at like, oh, this loser's doing this again. So you got to pick your spots. We're going to try it one more time. I think you got to take advantage of basketball season because once college ends, I like the NBA, but I probably wouldn't do this for the NBA. And then baseball, nobody's going to care about a baseball ladder. So yeah, for the 10 days of the 162 game schedule. I love baseball. Don't get me wrong, but you're not going to sit there. The good thing about baseball is though, you could just pick an underdog every day, which would be ridiculously hard. but you're going to get like a low plus money underdog every day that has a realistic chance of winning because the best teams in baseball are going to lose 60 games.
See, I like baseball because I like betting the -1.5 for the favorites, because you can get, like, if you've got a very good team, they're still not going to price the money line absurdly high in most situations, but you can get that -1.5 for like +140, +150. That's not necessarily too steep.
No, definitely. And Grant, I went to a spring training game the other night. I got to tell you a story. This is why baseball betting sucks, though, because the Orioles, they're up 3-0. All right. They go down 4. They give up 4 in like the bottom of the 4th inning because a pitcher came in who didn't have a name on the back of his jersey. No name. That's not a good sign in spring training when the guy doesn't have a name on the back of his jersey. It means
he's tanking for Shohei.
He's a scrub that got called up from freaking single A camp. Comes in, walks 2 batters. Okay, now the bases are loaded. Then he has a balk. He legit falls off the mound. Then he walks another batter home, and then he gives up a freaking hit, which should have been an out of the inning, air by the shortstop. Like, baseball changes just like that.
Poor guy. He's not making the team, is he?
No, it was funny too. The guys behind us like, send him back to Double-A.
That's got to be tough. That's got to be tough as a player. Like, you're trying to make your way up, and then it's not going well. You don't need to hear it from the fans.
Well, you see it all the time too. Like when guys like get called up to the bigs and then they have a bad performance, the first thing is, I'm getting called. I'm getting sent back down.
Yeah, it is. It is what it is. It's funny though. Can you bet? You can't bet on spring training games, can you?
Yeah, I did. That's why I was invested in it. I bet on the Orioles. Orioles were -160 against the Pirates. They ended up winning. The JV guys came in the 8th inning and found a way to win the game, but it was tight. It was a little bit of sweat. It was good. Good. We got to bet spring training because we got to get ourselves trained for baseball season. That's how it works.
I like that. I like that.
Take us out of here.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for this Friday episode of Ride the Line. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel so you never miss out when Tanner and I are here with the picks. Drop some comments, let us know what you think of our picks, who you're going to be betting on this weekend, and make sure you tune back in on Monday for a brand new episode of Ride the Line.